Nobody tells you what really happens when a man finally starts making money. You imagine the only thing that changes is the size of your bank account, but it isn't. Suddenly, you start looking at life in a completely different way. People start expecting certain choices from you. You feel the urge to reward yourself for years of hard work. And without even realizing it, you start making decisions that can either bring you closer to wealth or keep you away from it for many years. The most interesting part is that successful men seem to go through the same phase. The difference is they don't just change what they buy, they change things that most people don't even realize they should be changing. And that might be exactly why some people keep getting richer and richer, while others, even after earning much more than they used to, still feel like they can never move forward. If you enjoy content that shows how men actually build wealth, make sure to subscribe to the channel. My name is Ben, and today I'm going to show you the 10 changes financially smart men make almost immediately when money starts coming in. Changes that can accelerate your income, your confidence, your opportunities, and the speed at which you build wealth. And some of them are probably things you've never even thought about before. There's a moment that happens almost every time a man starts making more money. After years of budgeting, putting off purchases, and telling yourself, I can't afford that right now, life finally starts moving in the right direction, and your financial situation improves. And almost automatically, the same thought pops into your head. Now I can finally buy the things I couldn't afford before. Maybe a better car, a bigger house, more expensive clothes. And at first glance, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. After all, working hard should allow you to enjoy life. The problem is that almost nobody asks themselves one question before starting this sequence of upgrades. Is this really the smartest way to use the first extra money I've finally started to earn? Because making more money almost always changes the way people spend, but it rarely changes the way they set their priorities. And that's exactly where countless opportunities quietly disappear without anyone noticing. Ironically, the problem has never been spending money. Money is supposed to improve your life, but not every upgrade creates the same impact. Some upgrades seem to transform your life instantly. They impress people, they bring comfort, they make you feel like all your hard work has finally paid off. But just a few months later, they simply become part of your everyday routine. Meanwhile, there are other decisions that don't seem nearly as exciting at first. They rarely attract attention. Yet those choices keep paying you back for years, and in many cases, they completely change the direction of your financial future. That's one of the biggest differences between simply making more money and actually using that money to build a better life. Because when the money finally starts coming in, the most important question probably isn't, what can I buy now? It's probably this instead, how can I use this money to keep moving forward? And the answer is probably very different from what most men imagine. As I mentioned earlier, it's completely natural for most of us to want to buy better things as soon as we start making more money. I'm not judging that. But one of the first upgrades that can truly accelerate your life isn't something you park in your garage or wear on your body. It's the kind of environment you gain access to. Before we go any further, though, there's one important condition. This doesn't mean you should start spending money on every event, club, or experience just because you can now afford it. This strategy only makes sense when you've already built a solid financial foundation, have money left over after taking care of your priorities, and can direct part of that surplus toward expanding your opportunities. Because once you reach that point, one of the smartest ways to use money is to buy access. Access to people, access to conversations, access to places you probably wouldn't find yourself in by chance. Think about conferences in your industry, business events, private communities, entrepreneur groups, in-person courses, mentorship programs. Not because there's some magical place where millionaires reveal hidden secrets, but because the environment you spend time in has a profound impact on the way you think, the opportunities you recognize, and even the people who become part of your life. A single conversation can introduce you to an important client, a future business partner, an idea that completely changes your business, or simply a better way to solve a problem you've been struggling with for years. Interestingly, many opportunities appear long before they're ever available to the general public. They circulate first among people who are already connected to one another. That's why successful men invest so heavily in relationships, because they understand that wealth doesn't grow through money alone, it also grows through the right people. But there's a second upgrade that often comes once you have extra capital, and this one requires even more caution. For years, most people keep nearly all of their wealth in traditional investments, stocks, ETFs, bonds, mutual funds, and that makes perfect sense. These continue to be the foundation of wealth building for most investors. But as wealth grows, some men begin exploring other ways to preserve or diversify part of their capital. We're talking about alternative investments, collectible watches, fine art, classic cars, rare wines, historic coins, or other tangible assets that have the potential to appreciate over time. But there's one critical difference. They don't buy these assets simply because they seem sophisticated. They buy them because they understand that specific market. They know the demand. They know how to verify authenticity, they understand liquidity, and they're comfortable with the risks involved. Because investing in alternative assets without knowledge usually isn't investing, it's speculation. These assets should never replace the traditional foundation of an investment portfolio. They generally make sense only when they represent a small portion of a portfolio that's already well established. At the end of the day, networking and alternative investments have something in common. Both expand your possibilities. One expands the opportunities that come your way, the other expands the places where your wealth can continue to grow. But after expanding your network and learning that money can work in different ways, there's an even more valuable upgrade, one that almost every man wishes he had, but no one can manufacture. More time. And that's exactly what we're going to explore next. While most people think money is only meant to buy things, men who truly build wealth begin using it to buy something much rarer: time. Because money can be earned back, time can't. And that's one of the biggest mindset shifts that happens when a man starts becoming financially successful. Instead of asking, how much does it cost to hire someone to do this? He starts asking, how much is it costing me to keep doing this myself? That difference may seem small, but it completely changes the way you manage your life. Imagine you earn on average $100 an hour doing what you do best. Now imagine spending 3 hours on a Saturday mowing the lawn, cleaning the house, or handling tasks that someone else could do for $60 or $70. In that situation, the money you spend stops being an expense. It becomes an investment to buy back hours that can be used to produce more, learn a new skill, rest, or simply spend time with your family. That doesn't mean outsourcing absolutely everything, and it certainly doesn't mean surrounding yourself with employees. It simply means recognizing that at a certain point, some tasks begin costing you more time than they're actually worth. And successful men tend to protect that resource very carefully, because they know productivity isn't just about working harder, it's about working on the right things. But there's one important detail. Having more time becomes completely meaningless if you don't take care of the only person capable of enjoying it: your own body. It's interesting how many men have no problem keeping up with preventive maintenance on their car. They change the oil. They keep up with routine service. But they do the exact opposite when it comes to their health. They postpone checkups, ignore symptoms, put off doctor's appointments, until a small problem turns into something far more expensive, far more painful, and much harder to fix. Truly wealthy men understand that preventive healthcare is also an investment. Regular checkups, routine screenings, healthy eating, exercise, quality sleep. All of these may feel like an expense today, but they can help you avoid enormous medical bills, lost income, and much greater limitations in the future. The next upgrade almost never gets noticed. It doesn't change your appearance, it doesn't impress anyone on social media, and most people will never even realize you've made it. We're talking about knowledge. Interestingly, one of the cheapest ways to buy decades of someone else's experience is still a simple book. For just a few dozen dollars, you can access ideas that took someone 20, 30, or even 40 years to develop. It's like sitting down for a conversation with people who have spent their entire lives studying wealth, human behavior, or investing, and benefiting from what they've learned without having to make all the same mistakes yourself. A single idea from the right book can change the way you manage money, the way you negotiate, the way you invest, the way you think about risk, and even the way you recognize opportunities when they appear. For anyone who wants to build wealth consistently, there are 2 books that continue to be outstanding places to start. The first is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, because it shows that financial success depends far more on behavior than intelligence, and that small decisions repeated over many years usually have a much greater impact than the occasional big win. The second is The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley and William D. Danko, a book that completely challenges the idea that wealth always looks like wealth. It shows that many millionaires live far more modestly than most people imagine, and explains how consistent habits build much more wealth than an expensive-looking lifestyle ever could. But there comes a point when knowledge alone is no longer enough, because knowing more doesn't always mean earning more. The real breakthrough happens when what you learn increases your ability to solve problems that other people are willing to pay for. That's where a high-income skill comes in. It could be sales, negotiation, programming, copywriting, marketing, artificial intelligence, management, or any skill that creates real value for companies, clients, or the marketplace. The bigger the problem you can solve, the greater the financial reward is likely to be. And that creates an incredibly powerful effect, because instead of relying only on your investments to grow your wealth, you're also increasing your ability to generate more income year after year. Notice how everything starts connecting. Books expand the way you think, skills expand the way you produce, and together those 2 decisions can dramatically increase the value you bring to the marketplace. But there's something else that can accelerate that growth even further: the people who walk beside you, and the tools that make your work far more valuable. Let me show you what I mean. Before we continue the list, it's worth remembering something that almost never comes up when people talk about money: There is one decision that can either accelerate or limit your ability to build wealth for decades. And interestingly, it's almost never treated as a financial decision. We're talking about the woman you choose to build your life with. Many men believe that wealth depends only on how much you earn, how much you invest, or how smart your financial decisions are. But in reality, very few choices influence your future as much as sharing your life with someone who sees money the same way you do. Because wealth is rarely built alone. Every single day, decisions are being made. How much to spend? How much to invest? What risks to take? When two people are moving in the same direction, those decisions reinforce each other. But when each person has completely different priorities, even a high income can disappear without creating lasting wealth. This doesn't mean looking for someone who's rich or someone who's perfect. It means finding someone whose values align with the life you want to build. Someone who understands the difference between consuming and building. Someone who can think long term. Someone who sees money as a tool for creating freedom, not simply as a way to keep up with other people's lifestyles. Because the right partner can multiply your results or turn every financial plan into a constant battle. But there's another upgrade that often delivers far greater returns than most people realize. The tools that support your money-making machine. Every man has a primary source of income. It might be a business, a profession, a career, or freelance work. Now, think of that source of income as a machine. If that machine generates money every month, it makes sense to invest in it so it can produce even more. A faster computer for someone working in technology, software that automates repetitive tasks, better equipment for someone creating content, or any resource that allows you to deliver more value in less time. Many of these purchases look like expenses at first, but when they increase productivity, improve quality, or expand your ability to generate income, they stop being consumption. They become investments in your own ability to create wealth. Successful men rarely judge these tools by their price. They judge them by what they can return over time, because a tool that makes you more productive every single day can continue generating value for years. Notice how these two decisions work together. The right people strengthen your decisions. The right tools strengthen your ability to produce results. But there's one more kind of upgrade that directly influences the way the world sees you, while also changing the way you experience the life you're building. Let's talk about that now. What I'm about to say is something many men avoid because they're afraid it sounds superficial. But there's a huge difference between showing off and presenting yourself well. Improving the way you present yourself doesn't mean trying to look richer than you really are. It means showing respect for yourself, projecting confidence, and being prepared for the environments you want to be part of. First impressions are still one of the few things you never get a second chance to make. Before someone hears your ideas, sees your work, or knows your story, they've already started forming an opinion. That's why investing in your personal presentation can generate far greater returns than most people realize. We're not talking about luxury clothes or designer brands. We're talking about clothes that fit well, well-maintained shoes, good hygiene, a proper haircut, good posture, confident body language, small details that communicate professionalism, organization, and confidence. Because whether we like it or not, confidence is seen before it's heard. And when your appearance reflects self-respect and consistency, it opens doors that might never have opened otherwise. And there's one final upgrade that creates a completely different kind of return. Interestingly, it's almost never something that sits on a shelf. Once you've built wealth, increased your income, and invested in yourself, there comes a point where the best use of your money may no longer be buying more things. It may be buying more life, travel, time with your family, experiences that change the way you see the world, learning about a new culture, meeting different people, creating memories that still matter many years later. Because there's an important difference between owning something and experiencing something. Objects tend to lose their excitement surprisingly quickly. What once felt extraordinary on the day you bought it eventually becomes just another part of your routine. Experiences usually follow the opposite path. As time passes, they gain meaning, they become stories, lessons, moments you look back on with pride. That's why many financially successful men, after taking care of their essential needs, begin directing a larger and larger portion of their money toward living, rather than simply owning. Because they understand that wealth isn't just meant to increase your net worth, it's also meant to improve the quality of the life that net worth allows you to live. And when you look at all of these upgrades together, something interesting becomes clear. Almost none of them exist to impress other people. They exist to make you more capable, more free, and better prepared to build a better life. The problem is that most men continue doing the exact opposite. They invest first in what everyone else can see, and only later think about what actually transforms their lives. And that may be the biggest difference between looking successful and truly building a successful life. By now, you've probably noticed something interesting. Almost none of the upgrades we've talked about are meant to attract attention. Some of them sure might be visible. A sharper appearance, a trip, a better environment. But most of them happen quietly. No one sees the books you've read. No one notices the skill you spent months developing. No one sees the connections that opened new opportunities. or the time you got back by no longer wasting it on things that no longer deserved it. And interestingly, it's those invisible upgrades that usually produce the biggest results. They're the ones that keep improving your life even when no one is watching. That's why so many men confuse wealth with the appearance of wealth, because what's visible is always much easier to show, but what truly transforms a life almost always happens out of everyone else's sight. In the end, changing your financial life doesn't necessarily mean buying bigger things. More often, it means buying things that make you bigger. Because when that happens, wealth stops being the result of luck or a higher income. It becomes the natural outcome of the man you've become. And that's where the true purpose of money begins to reveal itself. Before we wrap up, remember one simple thing. Money doesn't change your life just because there's more of it in your bank account. It changes your life because of the decisions you make after that money arrives. Every time your income increases, try to resist the temptation to upgrade only the things other people can see. If you can do that consistently, you may discover that building wealth isn't about making extraordinary moves. It's about making smart decisions over and over again for years. Now I'd like to hear from you. Which upgrade from this video made you rethink the way you use your money the most? Share your answer in the comments. And if this video gave you a new perspective on money and building wealth, subscribe to the channel for more practical strategies that can help you build a stronger financial future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.